and welcome to the Builders BBQ Chats. This is going to be our first bit of a chat with everyone and Scritch and myself. So my name's Regan, I'm the owner of Reebuild, and this is Scritch, who runs our pre-construction at Reebuild, and this is all about having a chat behind the scenes, breaking down the process of not just building the house or your renovation on site, but everything that leads up to that, from the idea in the background to the completion and handover, and even long times after that, how you use the home.
So you might be in the position where your family has expanded, or your family has contracted, and your house is no longer the perfect home for you, and you've had the thought, maybe it would be good if this bedroom turned into a living space and we had more room for entertaining, whatever it is. It's time for a change. How do you go about beginning that process? For lots of people, they'd reach out to a designer and often go a long way down the path of developing what looks to them to be their perfect design. Now that's a lovely process, but here at Reebuild we often find that leaves people with a design that is more expensive to build than they can afford, or has issues with the current regulatory requirements that makes it tricky for them to build it in the way they had envisioned. So with those sorts of issues in mind, here at Reebuild we've developed a process to begin the planning process for your project with an emphasis on feasibility. So we at Reebuild like to manage the entire process and work with you so that at all points you can make informed decisions. So we break all of that planning into what we call a Prelim 1 and a Prelim 2. And in this discussion we'll focus mainly on that Prelim 1. In the Prelim 1 we have three main elements. The first element is a concept design, and the second element is a concept cost estimate based off that design, and the third element is a comprehensive certification and town planning assessment to see what ramifications that design has in the real world of building in your area. So to break those three parts down again, with the concept design, we keep that as simple as possible at this stage. We don't do any extra work on that than we have to be able to complete all three elements of the Prelim 1. So that means your concept design has to be able to demonstrate to you that it is addressing all of your needs, all of your wants, all of your desires for this new project. It also then has to have all of the information that we need to be able to develop a cost estimate of what it will cost you in the real world to build that design. And it also has to have enough information so that our certification and town planning partners can assess that design and give us accurate feedback of what is involved in making sure that design meets all the current criteria. And this certification assessment also gives us a very real world idea of what inspections are going to be required throughout the process and what certificates will be required before the end. Now, those three elements allow us to keep the feasibility in your control throughout the whole project. As we develop a concept design, you can both see that it's working for you and you can see how much it costs. Our cost estimate is done in an elemental form, which means that you get an idea of how much each element of your project will cost. So for example, if your cost estimate comes back and it's more money than your budget will allow for, you can choose where to pare that design back, where to decide to save money. And likewise, if that budget comes back and it is all working for you and you've got a little money in hand, you can choose where to spend that money. With another aspect of our Prelim 1 is that as the design is developed, we keep a very real world builder knowledge base in that design. So you will know that your design can be built in an efficient way. I think you've probably got some good ideas to speak about that efficiency, in that the examples you've seen before of designs that have come in, and they might be a great design, but from a practical point of view, it's not an efficient way to build.
Correct. It's very difficult sometimes to be creative from a designer or architect's point of view while understanding and maintaining buildability and to the right cost. So one of the reasons we do, and we've developed this, I guess, the two-stage or two phases of the pre-construction and the prelim works for Prelim 1 and 2 over the many years, is we found that it allows us to, as builders, I guess, come to the round table with all the people that need to be involved in bringing a project to life. One of those projects like used to be where the architect would come in and they would bring in the concept design, then the client would go, yep, that looks fantastic, and then they'd sign off on the concept design, and great, there's the next step, let's go get engineering, and let's make sure we can put the steel and the depths of everything, and let's go get soil reports and detailed surveys and all these kind of things. And then the builder would be involved towards the end of that process, and or the architect is getting the information on where they believe the costs sit based on quantity surveyors or estimators or online stuff, or a builder that finished a project 6 months ago but then it took 12 months to build, and then before that it took 6 months to cost and design. So with having us involved nice and early, or any builder in that match, the best thing is that we're all at the round table, we're all putting in and collaborating, so that when a design comes through, the designer can be open, they can look at all the things they want, they can grab the client's ideas, interpret them in a design aspect in a creative way, put them down on some paper, on the plans online, they get sent to us, and vice versa, and back and forward, and we start massaging the client's expectations. We then get the concept estimate you're talking about, and we look at value management and where the client wants to spend their money, their hard-earned cash, what their outcomes are for the property, all of those kind of things. So it's a very big picture and a lot more in depth than what a lot of people might seem to think it is. So, yeah.
There's an enormous amount involved in the planning of a project like this, and it's always the unknown unknowns that trap you up as a client. I know this because I came to Reebuild as a client myself. I personally am not a builder. My role within the company is to facilitate this pre-construction planning phase. And I think one of the most important things I bring to that is the fact that I'm a layperson fundamentally. I'm a layperson who's spent his life building things, so my curiosity helps me understand and know the process. But fundamentally, I'm a layperson, so I generally am your conduit to the team of professionals, and I can help interpret your needs and let the team know what they need to respond to from that point of view, and more importantly, I can interpret the output from the team and let you understand what that means in the real world for you, so that you can be making informed decisions. Now, whatever builder you go with, whatever company, it's important at every step that you understand what is going on, what is being done, and the reasons for it, so that you can be making informed decisions about your project.
Yeah, correct. It's one of those things that we all want to get involved. We all, a lot of customers come to us, and you take generally the first phone calls that we get from people, or the first emails and the bit of the application form, And a lot of people have thought about, they've built up a Pinterest thing, they might have done some sketches, they might have started drawing with paint on their computer or something like that, or they've started like that, and that's fantastic. It gives us a bit of a guidance of what kind of personality you have and how you interpret things. Are you a visual person? Do you like technicalities? Do you like talking about it? That kind of thing. So that very much helps. But what we try to get clients to do is actually step back one stage a little bit and start to understand their home a bit more. Start to understand their lifestyle, what they do, how they do it, and we dive deep into that. It's actually a very big part of what we try and do. We're not just going to come to you and go, let's stick on 2 bedrooms on the side of the house that's in the western sun, and those bedrooms are the most uncomfortable things you've ever lived in, and it's got you 2 bedrooms, but it's the hottest thing in the house, and it doesn't matter, it hasn't achieved the actual goal, but when we start the process, it looks like it has. So that's what allows us to work with you and work with all the consultants, and we all have expertise in every different area, and I think we all just fill the gaps really well from it when it comes down to that kind of thing. So we want to break down this process so that if you're at home and you want to start doing this kind of process yourself, start working on these things in the background, or you find this information helpful and we're the right people for you, then by all means reach out. That's what we're here to do. I want to give you as much information and educate you as much as I can from a technical side of things. And Scritch here has a lot of the feedback that he meets with all the clients and does all those kind of early interactions. We kind of bounce ideas off each other. We're different styles because I'm very technical, but I'm also have been doing this for nearly 15 years. And Scritch has got that approach and a few more years on the board to learn how to deal with clients a bit better sometimes. I tend to dive a little too deep, a little too early sometimes, and it has proven to sometimes push some clients away a little bit and get a bit too nitty gritty. So that's one of the benefits. Whereas hopefully here, you guys can choose how nitty gritty you want to go, whether you want to spend the time to listen to a few things I'm talking about, or whether we're going to deep dive and just give you the stages one to one. So by all means, the process we do should and does work for almost every outcome and every situation. There is some very minor tweaks sometimes to the order. Generally in Prelim 2, there's a couple of small things that we sometimes bring into Prelim 1 depending on the complexity of the project, because we work on renovations and specialise in renovations. There is complexities to the existing location of the house. Mm-hmm. So if we're doing a raise up and the house is already against a certain area, then we've got restrictions up early. We might do a detailed survey early to establish exactly where the house is. It could have been built in 1890 something for all we know, and like we have with a couple of projects at the moment, yep. And who knows where they are on the property, yep. In relation to the actual boundaries. So it's a little bit of a moving part, but sit with us. We'll take you along the journey of everything, and coming up, we'll also be working on diving deep into one of our projects, trying to get a mini series together later this year for one of our projects from start to finish, so you can actually follow the process of a job that is running, that we're doing, that the client's taking steps and taking the decisions and making those decisions go as they go. Scritch will be able to explain how he's done this step, what we've done in this period, like what we've done here and here to achieve the outcome, and then you'll also start to see, we'll show you some of the costs, some of the things for that particular project. So every project's going to be different. They're all going to have different consultant fees and stuff like that, but as a general guide, we'll be able to show you costs for a project that does sit similar, and if you can relate to it, then the cost may be set very similar, and it's comparable to give you a bit of an idea, but generally speaking, we go get prices from individual contractors for individual jobs. Every job's different for what we do. Every condition of the house is different before we walk in, so it's very, very tricky to rinse and repeat the type of projects we do. So, yeah.
Yes. That being said, our process tends to stay the same even as the projects themselves vary.
Yeah.
That's because the same elements are required across almost all renovation projects. So our process, if you've got a reasonable understanding of it, then you'll know how it will work for your project. Yep. The only times that really changes is if we're doing a project with somebody who has already begun the plans, for example. Sometimes someone will come to us, they've got a full set of architectural plans and they say, we want to start building.
Yeah.
Now, obviously in that case, our Prelim 1 doesn't contain the concept design, but we just slot in the plans and the work that's been done from the other designer as if they're one of our design teams, and move forward. So the process stays largely the same.
Yep.
Every project is different.
Yeah, we met last week with Ronan and his partner. They came to us with 2 designs. They'd gone through with one designer and come up with this bit of a grand master plan. They could see that pretty early on that was probably a bit outside the reach. It wasn't quite working with them. I guess they didn't find that, they didn't resonate real well with that designer or architect at the time. And a few things there that weren't meshing what they thought it was going to do. They also had engaged a friend of theirs who's a structural engineer to give them some advice, have a jump in the ceiling, look at their place from a structural point of view. So they started to realise that they really needed to get a bit of an understanding of the elements of their home. It's an old, it's a brick home, actually engaged brick home with internal block or concrete walls. So a lot of the stuff can't be moved. It's a bit more Melbourne-y style where all the brick walls go down through the floor system into the ground. So it's very different. So they got that first design done, didn't quite meet, that something didn't quite work. They went, okay, well maybe we should have a look at some concept plans from another designer or someone else with a bit of a different view and see if those resonate. That's turned out quite well. The design they've now got from Midnight is probably, 90-95% there, I think. It seems to tick all the right boxes. They've looked at it from an overview, a big picture. Does it do this? Does it do that? I think it gave a bigger open living room space, extended out the back, added a new patio and fixed a lot of the roof line, gave them a bit more space back, opened up a few walls. So yeah, it was a reasonably smaller project, but it also seemed to tick a lot of the boxes. So in that situation, we're gonna meet with the designer that has done the second revision of those ones. We go and have a chat with them, see what stage they're up to, what's left to be done, where they believe the stage is at, what the design brief is that they've had with the client, because time passes, a lot of people get more information. They learn this from this person, learn it from us, learn it from their friend that they decided to show at work, the plans to their place, and the discussion that we've had, vice versa. So things change, and we want to make sure that we all clarify that a few times throughout the process and ensure that we're all on the same page, we're working off the same book. And yeah, we'll slot that into our concept stage. We'll put our, I guess, in a 2 cents into the thing. We'll have a discussion. We'll go, yep, this works really well. This doesn't work really well. Scritch gets me involved, runs it, gets me to run my eyes over it. We might do a site visit. And then from that, I'm able to give a bit of information of how it would be built. And then I look at the engineering questions, and I might call the engineer that's been engaged in this one and go, hey, does he think this will work, that'll work? So we're starting to weigh up a few costs, and because I'm involved early in that stage, and I'm also involved in the higher end of running the construction site, I'm able to look at the real-time pricing on what our labour is, what our materials cost us every day. I'm back costing jobs, I'm checking on this. I know that if someone's looking at building a extension in this particular method with this particular outcome, with this kind of soil type, and this is the engineer's what he's suggesting, I can pretty much do the sum straight away to work out, okay, that option costs roughly this much, for that kind of outcome. Do we have another outcome? Do we have another solution? Do we have a different a way of discussing, hey, Mr. Engineer, can we do, a concrete slab rather than a floor system, or can we use steel instead of timber, or do we need that? Do we need this to achieve the same outcome? So that's what is awesome about being involved. So yes, you don't have to have us do all the plans and all the stages and everything like that, but I strongly believe getting a builder to be involved nice and early. We work with these guys day in, day out, so working with us or any other builder that works closely with all these trades, you just got to get a bit of efficiency, you understand how everyone works. And you get a repeatable outcome really when you start working with like-minded people and trades that you've been working for a long time.
The team, I think, is a very important element of this.
Yep.
If you start with just a designer, then you're starting with a limited team. The way our process works, as soon as you begin with us, you have access to our entire extended team. Now, with our prelims, because there are so many external consultants involved in producing the work, we charge for those. But it's important to understand that before we would ever suggest that you actually engage in a prelim one with us, you get to access our expertise to get a ballpark notion of what your project will cost. So we can get an understanding of what your budget expectations are. We can give you an understanding of where we think a ballpark figure for your project is sitting, so that you can then decide, okay, I think it's worth investing in a prelim one and starting this process. Now, as soon as you do that, you get access to our entire team. So for example, if you came to us like some customers recently did and said, we want to build a second story on our house. This is what we want. And we say, okay, we'll go away, we'll have a bit of a look at this and come back to you and let you know whether we think in the big picture it's feasible. So we went away. They haven't engaged us for a prelim one at this point.
Yep.
We're just discussing the whole project. We went away, we had a look at the house, we had a look at putting the second story on. We anticipated a couple of initial questions that needed to be answered. And because we have certification teams, we have design teams, we can reach out to these people, our engineering partners, and we can ask quick questions at the outset.
Yeah, without engaging, without having to engage like a homeowner might or an architect might.
Exactly.
We're able to, send that email away, and because we work with them frequently, they know that we're not asking them a question for no reason. We're going to send you a question because we want to work with them on a new project. We've got new leads coming in. We've got new clients, potentially like yourself, and Scritch goes out and goes, hey, clients looking at doing da 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 da. What do you think? And in this situation, the town planner's come back to us and gone, okay, well, maybe we have a quick look at the covenant for the area. It's got a building overlay covenant from when all the houses were built about 30 years ago. Yeah, state was established 30 years ago. So in this instance, that town planning assessment will still go ahead of step 3, but we're actually going to do a very, very early one and just engage that town planner to have spend that hour or two going and getting the covenant, going and getting the building thing, and double checking if we go do some concept plans, can we draw a 2-story for starters? Because they've given us to understand that there's only been a couple in the area. So there's even a potential that there's no point in going and doing concept plans if we can't go do that. So that's a very tricky one to go around when you're not constantly working with town planners, certifiers and designers and all that.
Yes.
They're not going to give you that advice because they don't know who you are.
No, exactly. Yeah. It's only because they know that we will push our projects through them that they're happy to answer these questions for us ahead of time. And by coming to us or a similar building group with processes like this, you can access that information in a way that you wouldn't be able to as a homeowner.
Yeah, correct. And from where I've come from, if a builder isn't doing something like that and able to go and get you some information about your project, so what we try and do is, and we'll take it back a step, Scritch. So before that prelim, Scritch has already had a quick phone call with them. So you organise the first point of contact. Basically, you fill out a bit of an application form, and the reason we have an application form is because it gives us all the information we need to make an educated decision whether straight off the bat it's not a project we deal with, and we can't do that. We can't help you. I'm sorry. So we would rather be upfront with you and go yes or no. We can't help you. So first of all, application forms. Then we book in a call, and Scritch will generally give you a call, have a chat about your project, ensure that what you've written down is what we've got there, and we've had a quick look at your project from a street view or a map or a real estate listing or something, so we get a quick idea of what we're looking at, the age of the home, that kind of thing, just some generics, and have a bit of a chat with you. Okay, and if it's a project that seems like very similar to what we do, how we do it, sounds like we can work together, and we both want to know a bit more about it, Scritch then books a meeting time to go out and have a look. And what do you tell people again?
So with the meeting is in some ways a bit of an echo of the phone call. Again, we're assessing a big picture feasibility of the project. But one of the most important things about that meeting is actually me getting to meet the clients and getting a sense of how well we can communicate. And likewise with the clients with me, because with any renovation projects, the planning phase generally takes longer than the construction, and it is enormously involved. Mm-hmm. It's not like building a new house where you've got a clean sheet of paper to start with. We're incorporating the new with the old, and we plan everything to the nth degree. So that means working very closely with you and being the intermediary between you and all the other consultants. So I need to know that we can communicate effectively going forwards.
Yeah, we're going to be starting a long relationship. You know,
Exactly.
like realistically, we're starting a long relationship from anywhere from what,
Yeah,
3 to 6 months for a prelim one.
Yeah,
It could be 6 months again on top of
again
that for a
the
prelim
prelim
two, and then depending on your project, you could be 6 to 12 months for the renovation, and then onwards after that, you're 6 to 7 years of the defects liability and all the warranties we got. So that's a long process and a long time, and these day and age, you've got to be sure.
And for most of us, we're talking about your biggest investment financially as well.
100%.
So it's an enormous investment emotionally, and it's an enormous investment financially, and it's a relationship that we're going to have lots of close interactions for quite some period of time. So that meeting is largely to establish whether we have a relationship, whether we can build a relationship strong enough to work through that process.
Yeah.